Throwdown Nation. We are live on a Thursday night, and we are here with episode 34 of the Throwdown with Matt. And tonight, it is my pleasure to have with me Georgia-based pro wrestler Jonah Hunt. How you doing, Jonah?
I am fantastic. How are you, man?
Good, good. Um, I do want to say real quick, it looks like there may be some technical difficulties on the Instagram side of things. You know, if you're not seeing this on Instagram, please jump to YouTube, Facebook, or Twitch because it appears the Instagram feed is down. But anyway, we will go ahead and get into the matters at hand here, and we'll start with the first and most obvious question, and that is, how long have you been wrestling?
So I started training in April of last year down in Statesboro, and then I started working matches in April of this year. So about 6 months of working real live matches.
Gotcha. Who actually trained you?
So when I first started, I was training with Techi Mikuji, who was a legend on the Georgia independent scene. He retired this year. I started with him, and after my 9 months with him, I decided I was going to come up to Nightmare Factory, which I had been thinking about that for months and months and months by the time I actually got there. And it was the best choice I had made as far as training and wrestling goes. They set me up very well, and I feel like I've been well prepared for whatever's to come.
Gotcha. That's QT Marshall and Cody Rhodes and that bunch.
Yes, sir.
Awesome, awesome. You couldn't ask for much better training experience than that.
No, it's top notch. It really is.
So, at what point in your life, have you been a lifelong fan of this stuff? And was there a point in your life where you kind of looked at what was going on TV and thought to yourself, I think I can do that?
So I started watching wrestling when I was 8. So a lot of these locker rooms I walk into, I'm one of the younger people there. And this happened about a month or so ago. Heath Slater was actually at a show I was working on. And I told him about one of my first memories of wrestling is him being in the Nexus.
Oh,
And
yeah.
he was like, "Oh, wow, man, how old are you?" I was like, "Turned 22 yesterday." He was like, "Oh my gosh." So I made Heath Slater feel old. I guess that's an accomplishment in a way. But I mean, I've kept up with it, inconsistently for a couple years between, I'd say, probably my 8th grade and like my senior year of high school. And around my senior year, I just started thinking, like, man, what am I actually going to do with myself when I graduate high school? Because I had no idea. Because I didn't really enjoy school all that much. I mean, I got good grades, but I just didn't really enjoy school. So it was always a thought in the back of my mind, and it was a thought for probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 years before I took any action on it. But I was the only person that was stopping me from giving it a shot. I remember when I first thought about it, I would try and tell people to talk me out of it because I thought it was completely ridiculous. I was like, I don't know if I can do this. But at one point, I just kind of looked in the mirror. I was like, why aren't you a pro wrestler yet? Like, what is actually stopping you from pursuing this?
Right.
And I kind of took a look at what my life was going on at the time. Like, there was nothing. Like, there was nothing actually stopping me from starting the journey. So I emailed Techi. I emailed his promotion, and he brought me in for a tryout. And it was one of the more difficult things I've ever had to do. It was kind of like just like a military PT test. He was just trying to see if I was going to quit or not, but I didn't. And he brought me on, and Techi's been like a second father to me. He really has. He's been awesome.
That's awesome. And relationships like that are just priceless. As we were talking about even before we went live. So
yeah, he set me up well. Nightmare Factory set me up. They got me to an even more elevated place, and just been trying to grind ever since.
Awesome. So you had said that one of your earliest wrestling-related memories was Heath Slater in the neck. Are there any other early memories that you'd like to share?
So my cousin James was a huge WWE fan. He was one of the people who got me into it. And his favorite wrestler was Jeff Hardy. So by proxy, Jeff Hardy became my favorite wrestler. Now, at this time, Jeff Hardy was not in WWE. I think he had very recently been released, and he was in TNA at the time. So I started watching multiple companies just so I got that exposure to more than just WWE wrestling fairly early on because of Jeff Hardy, because I started watching him in TNA. And then John Cena and The Miz feuding, Edge. I remember Edge, this was shortly before he retired the first time, obviously. Trying to think of who else really stuck out in my mind. Matt Sydal, when he was in, because he could do the shooting star press, and I thought that was the coolest.
Oh, yeah.
I thought it was the coolest thing ever because I had never seen anybody do it before that. Now I know, there are people who can do. I saw a kid at a show I was at a couple weeks ago do a running shooting star press, and it blew my mind.
Wow.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah, guys like Matt Sydal, Ricochet, those types that are so creative and so innovative with their moveset. Those guys inspire the next generation who will continue to revolutionize things and bring new and even more cool stuff. So it's exciting to watch it all evolve.
Oh yeah, I love at heart. I still love watching wrestling. Let's see, 3 out of the 4 nights I'm home during the week, wrestling's on. So I'm watching, Raw, NXT, and AEW on back-to-back nights, and then Thursday. I usually got to work pretty early in the morning on Friday, so I don't have to worry about working during the weekend, so I can work shows. So
Gotcha.
I got to be there tomorrow at 5:30, and right after I get off, I got to drive down to Millersville for a show.
Wow. So yeah, you've got a busy weekend ahead of you.
Yeah, I try and keep my schedule pretty packed.
So, and I'm fully aware that training is an ongoing, lifelong thing. But in terms of your early training, when you were really kind of learning the ropes, what was the most challenging part of your initial training?
Thinking that I knew what was going on. You can watch wrestling on TV all you want, but the moment you step foot in that ring and you start trying stuff, it blows your mind. And there's even really simple stuff, like basic, wrestling maneuvers that I struggled to get, and it kind of really puts everything into perspective that you've ever seen before that.
Gotcha. So, away from wrestling, what are some of your other hobbies and interests?
So I'm a very avid gym goer. I'm a certified personal trainer, so I got to look the part. I've always enjoyed working out. I don't enjoy running. I used to kind of enjoy it, but now I just don't really enjoy it anymore. I've made myself start doing cardio again when I started working, so it's a trade-off. I'll take it, but I actually really enjoy cooking too. I do all my own meal preps, and I just find ways to make stuff taste good. I'm a real simple guy. I don't do a whole lot. It doesn't take a lot to keep me happy.
Gotcha. Well, I noticed on your Instagram that you have a link to the 988 Lifeline, which is a mental health and suicide prevention hotline and crisis center. I presume that that's a topic that's near and dear to your heart. What can you tell me about why you decided to link that?
So when I was younger, especially, I had a really hard time with depression. I've gotten medicated. I've gotten to a point where I can manage, you know, but there are good days and bad days. Anybody who struggles with that kind of thing will tell you there are good days and then there are really bad days in between. But the one thing that I learned is it really sucks to think that nobody cares when that's just not the case.
Right.
And even if you use that link as a last resort, like, you know, you really just feel like you got nothing left, use it. Don't sit on those bad feelings. Don't just let it consume you, because if you let it consume you, you're only going to feel worse. It's not going to get better unless you take the steps. Now it's going to suck trying to get the help that you need, because you don't want to, you think you can manage it. You go so long just managing, you know, getting by, you know, going day by day, even, you know, not really looking forward to the future. And I mean, I've done that before. Like there have been points in time where I legitimately did not know what to do because I didn't think I was going to be there. Like I didn't think I was going to be in that position. So how was I supposed to know what to do, you know? But it matters because there's a lot of people who die every year by suicide, and a lot of people that people will say, "Oh, I had no idea." Well, that's why we got to check on people. That's why I try and make sure to, you know, check on your friends, check on coworkers, check on people that you work with, you know, check on your friends, family in wrestling. Like, we got to take care of each other. Because if we stop taking care of each other, that's when society's really just.
Yep, absolutely. You know, and I really admire that you put that in your Instagram bio, and that you're speaking so freely about it. I mean, that's a great thing, because I mean, you know, we all have our moments when we struggle, and you know, something that I want to share, because it meant a lot to me, was, you know, one of our earliest exchanges that you and I had together. You know, when I'd reached out to you about coming on, you responded and said, "Are you sure you want me? I'm nobody." And you know, I mean, it's
Nobody yet.
I understood where you were coming from on that, but I mean, you know, as I've gotten to know you a little bit, you are far from nobody. I mean, Jonah, you are a pretty awesome young guy, and you know, and you've got nothing but a bright future ahead of you. And you know, I'm going to be excited to say someday that I had you on my show when, you know.
Appreciate that.
But yeah, I mean, you're Jonah Hunt and you're on the rise. So, but something else that I noticed also on your Instagram is that you reference Romans 12:1 in your bio. And it says, "Therefore, I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship." Man, those are great words from the Apostle Paul. What led you to include that?
So when I first started coming to Christ and realized, like, obviously, like I said, gym's a huge part of my life. Like, I worked in 2 of them last year for 6 months. I loved it, loved the job. It was amazing. But seeing that as a way to live in worship, that was so important to me, to keep myself healthy, keep myself in a position where I'm taking care of myself so I can follow the assignment that's been put in front of me.
Right.
And sometimes that's taking rest when I don't want to. Like the other day, I was like, I got home from work, I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to do this. Took a 2-hour nap on my couch as soon as I got home. I just could not seem to get up before I went to wrestling training. So, you know, the Lord works in mysterious ways. Let's put it
He
that way.
does. He does. And there's times where you've just got to listen to your body too.
Oh yeah, no, I am notorious for not doing that. If you ask any of my friends or family, they will tell you that. I broke my back when I was a junior in high school, and I kind of sort of didn't tell the whole truth because I didn't want to stop playing football, and I broke it even worse. And then I've had shoulder issues for years and years and years, and I'm just like, I'm fine. I'll wrestle through it. I haven't had anything. Thank God, I haven't had anything serious happen to me in a wrestling match yet. Um, nothing horrible has happened, but I've taken my fair share of lumps over the years.
Gotcha. So you had mentioned that you're a personal trainer. Is that your day job, or what is your day job?
Right now, no. I was living in Statesboro for most of 2022 and 2023, and towards the end of 2023, I started working at two gyms down in Savannah because I was trying to save up money for Nightmare Factory. So I was working 16, 18-hour days, just trying to make as much money as I could, and I loved it. Don't get me wrong, I loved every second of it. But when I came up here and I could only work 3 days a week at a time, I just went back to working in restaurants, just, what I knew was easy. And right now I'm actually working at a Dunkin' Donuts here in Watkinsville.
Oh, cool.
So you see my enormous apron wearing. It's a big apron, but I'm also a fairly large individual, so it doesn't really fit me. So it kind of looks like So it's kind of funny seeing me back there. My friends laugh every time they see it.
Got you. So you mentioned that you're in Oconee County. Is that your actual hometown?
Yes, sir. I moved here when I was 5, I think. I mean, I was living in Georgia before that, so it's not like I'm just, had a whole life, early childhood somewhere else. I mean, I lived in Athens, but moved here, lived here until I graduated high school, lived in Statesboro for a little bit, and then came back up here. Couldn't escape.
Gotcha. So what is your favorite thing about Oconee County?
So I still have a lot of friends who live here, and the friends that I really hang out with. I wouldn't call myself antisocial, but I can go into states where there's only a few people where I want to see on any given basis, and those people still live here, so it's nice to be able to see them really at any given moment. I also like the proximity, because there's a lot of wrestling in Athens, but there's also a lot of wrestling in like a 45-minute span of here, like Greensboro, Buckhead, down towards the lake. Georgia Championship Wrestling runs down there, and I've worked for them. Out in Royston, SCA runs out there. I've worked for them. Commerce, Nerd U runs out there. I work for them. It's a nice location, especially for the amount of shows that I personally have been able to get on, and knowing that I'm not going to have to drive 4 hours home, get home at 2 a.m.
Right.
Royston is 45 minutes away from me. I go out there almost every Friday night. Show starts at 8. I'm usually home by 11 or 11:30.
Can't beat that.
Really can't.
So they say that the best wrestling personas are yourself turned up to 11. So tell me a bit about in-ring Jonah and kind of compare and contrast him with everyday you.
So my in-ring persona is a bit interesting because I had a different one before the one I have now. And it was just very outlandish, flamboyant, pretty typical run-of-the-mill, unlikable heel. But I started one of my one of my favorite character tropes in wrestling is just the loose cannon, psychopath, crazy, I'm going to beat everyone's ass type of character.
Mm-hmm.
And I took a lot of like my personal darkness and put it into like a character that's just angry all the time, enjoys fighting, enjoys, inflicting pain. Obviously in real life I don't enjoy that. I don't enjoy that.
Right.
I feel like what I present in the ring and what I actually am is very different most of the time. I do enjoy, even though I present that character most of the time when I work heel, I do enjoy comedy spots. Like I like funny stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If I can make one person go, that was pretty funny during the match, I like that. I do like that. But obviously I can't always do that with, this crazy character. Cause I tell people it's kind of like a serial killer. Like, have you ever seen the movie No Country for Old Men?
Yeah.
So Anton in that movie is kind of who I based this character off of.
Okay.
I think it's a good example, but some people might beg to differ. I like movies like that.
I do too. It's been a while since I've seen that movie, but I saw it several years ago. So
I watched it a few times before I really started presenting this character.
Mm-hmm.
Had to really, because a lot of experts are like, this is the best movie interpretation of a psychopath that's ever been put to film. So like studying little mannerisms, how he talks, how he views people, and trying to turn that into a wrestling character. I'm not here for you. I'm here to conduct my business. If you're in my way, you're the problem, kind of thing.
Right.
Obviously, I don't say conduct my business because Christian Cage has a monopoly on that at this point.
Yeah, he sure does. So tell us about your very first match. What was it like? How did it go? What were your thoughts coming into it and your thoughts coming out of it? Let's hear it.
So my first match was the Nightmare Factory Showcase. Like, I didn't have any matches when I was training with Techi. I didn't take any bookings or do any real live matches when I was in camp at Nightmare Factory.
Mm-hmm.
But my first match was against a guy I was in camp with who, he had experience. So, he worked heel, I worked face. He made me slow down. He got me through the match. And obviously I was super nervous beforehand. I mean, I know I'm not wrestling in front of, 70,000 people. I'm wrestling in front of 150 maybe. But, you're still nervous. But
Oh, yeah.
It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it a lot. But I didn't get to work again for like almost a month after that. It's hard to find bookings when you're brand new because people understandably are a little hesitant to book green people. I completely get it.
Right.
But I'm lucky enough to have people that look out for me. And one of the guys who hung around the camp a lot got me on a show. And I've been on that show every month with the exception of like one since. So I've been lucky to work pretty consistently since then. I got to take a day off here and there, but most every weekend since about second week in April, I've been working.
Well, that's great.
Just trying to get as much experience under my belt as possible.
Exactly. Reps.
Can't say that enough.
Nope. So we've heard about your first match. Now tell us about your favorite match that you've been a part of thus far in your career.
So Nerd U helped put on a benefit show a couple weeks ago in Winder for the shooting in Appalachia.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't originally booked on that show, but Nerd U put on a show the day before, and a bunch of people that were on the show were going to be there. So I mentioned something about it, and they're like, "Yeah, just come on over. We'll find something for you." Great, cool, awesome. Had nothing else to do that day, so I show up and thinking I'm just going to be in the battle royal. I'm happy to be there. I'm happy to help, do whatever I can. And then they tell me, hey, you're wrestling CB Suave. And CB Suave is really good. He's one of the top guys in Georgia and
Okay.
probably the Southeast. He's really good. And I had so much fun with that match. Like we had so much fun. I was just trying to elevate to his level, and I had a lot of fun doing it. I've gotten to wrestle with Michael Solar a few times. I've really enjoyed working with him. Trying to think of other people I've gotten to work. Can't think of anybody else in particular off the top of my head, but I've really enjoyed everyone I've worked with. Really, and I can't think of anybody. I can't think of anybody who I've just been like, man, I did not enjoy that. Like I've enjoyed working with everybody. Now, I haven't always been. I'm still very new at this, so I'm still trying to, in a sense, get good. But I know that I'm learning. I'm still really new. I know I shouldn't be, hard on myself. But I love the idea that this is my dream and I have a real opportunity to do something with it. So I want to make the most of it. And I want to be as good as top notch as I can in everything I do.
Absolutely, man. And I'm sure that show was probably very cool to be a part of just because of the cause.
Oh yeah, no, I think I saw it on Facebook the other day. We raised like $3,000 for the school with that show, so
that's great.
That was so nice to see that we had actually, sometimes wrestling, it's this silly thing we do, it's amazing. It can be a lot of different things, but when we do it for a good cause, it can really be something special.
Absolutely. So, what has been, and you may not have really had any strange encounters yet, but what has been the strangest encounter you've had with a fan?
I'm gonna be so honest. I really haven't had any.
Well, that's good. I mean,
there's nothing that's happened at any show I've been at where now, I've been on shows where I've gotten a lot of heat. I've been on shows where I've had fans, throw middle fingers my way or throw a drink at me or something.
Yeah, but that's part of the game. I'm talking,
that's what I'm going for. That's what I want you to do. That's what I want. So I really haven't had any bad experiences. I mean, I've had so many good experiences that even if I had a bad experience, I don't think it would really stick out in my mind.
Well, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
So, do you have a preference yourself? You said you've done some of each, but do you have a preference yourself between working heel or babyface?
I mean, it kind of depends. There are parts of being a heel that I like. I'm really good at pissing people off. And I've gotten to the point where I don't always have to do a ton, just be unlikable.
Right.
But working face, it's a lot of fun, especially, for me being in the position I am. Like I said, this is my dream. This is everything I could ever want. And having little kids, run up to me looking for an autograph after a show like that feels good. And that feels good in here. I'm not going to lie. That feels good.
Oh yeah. So, and I know this actually happens more than a lot of people realize, but can you share an example of a time where you've had to really improvise during a match?
Let me think here. So I've never had a situation where I got hurt or somebody else got hurt and we just had to end it right there.
Mm-hmm.
There have been times where we've gotten to a certain point in the match and I was like, hey, we got to go home. We got to send it. And, I haven't had a situation where just all chaos, broke down. I was in a 9-man scramble match a while back, and that was chaos. But that whole thing, most of that thing was improvised. I just started running around hitting people in the head with Coke cans and stuff, just trying to be entertaining. But there's nothing that I can think of that's ever really been, blown that bad.
Gotcha.
I don't do flips or anything like that, so I've never had. You made me think of one. This was out in Royston. I was in a squash mat. I was working against a guy. I was squashing him, and he tried to do a Hurricane Rana off the second rope, and I caught him, and he didn't go far enough, so I just power bombed him. And I was like, oh, and that was rough. That was rough, but I cut a solid promo afterwards, so I guess I kind of made up for it. Not really, but
well, what can you do?
It happens. It's fine.
Yep. So, in terms of your in-ring work and your promos, who would you say? Well, let me phrase it this way: who or what would you say are some of your influences? And it can be wrestlers, it can be pop culture, any of that.
So I wrestled in high school, so I have the amateur background. So any of the amateur guys like Kurt Angle, Chris Benoit. I like Chris Benoit.
I do too.
JBL, and a lot of older guys. Like I started watching a lot of older wrestling. The more I started trying to learn, and guys like Arn Anderson.
Oh yeah,
big, strong. Make it look like it's really hurting somebody. I like that kind of style. But I also like technical type of wrestling. So I really like Daniel Bryan. I know he's Bryan Danielson, but to me he's Daniel. Yeah. He'll always be Daniel Bryan. Trying to think of who else. I can't do Swanton. So as much as I want to say Jeff Hardy, he's still my favorite, but I just can't say he influenced anything I do in the ring.
Gotcha.
Also, I think Raven. I like Raven.
Oh yeah.
This one guy I started watching recently. Unfortunately, he had to retire. Alex Coughlin from New Japan.
Yeah.
He had to retire earlier this year, I think. But I started watching a lot of his stuff because one of my friends told me to kind of look into him, and I liked what I saw.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Raven. Like you mentioned, I loved his promos because his promos actually remind me of the promos that Jake the Snake Roberts used to do.
Yeah, I like Jake Roberts.
They don't raise their voice. They just very quietly tell you what they're fixing to do to you, and they project menace without, ranting and raving and veins popping out in their head. They're just, and they say fear the quiet ones.
No, I love promos like that.
And a number of years ago, I actually was at a small comic book convention here in Atlanta, and Raven actually had a table there, and there was like nobody hanging out. So I actually spent some time talking with him, and he is such a nice, gracious, intelligent guy.
Oh yeah,
I had a
140 or something. It's crazy.
Yeah, the guy is actually pretty brilliant. So, but yeah, that was really a treat just to get to kind of hang out with Raven for a little while.
No, that is pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. That would be almost a bucket list item for me.
Yeah, I mean, I was shocked that there was nobody else really hanging out at his table. I mean.
Will you give me 1 second to run and grab a brick for a charger? My phone is very low on battery. I do apologize.
Absolutely, yeah.
I forgot the Falcons were playing tonight. I can't wait to watch them lose. I got no faith in any of my sports teams anymore. I'm sorry. The older I've gotten, the more I've realized the lower expectations that I set for for each team, that I just can't be disappointed. So that way I can't get mad.
Yeah. There's some wisdom there for sure. Yeah,
I know it's flawed logic. It's definitely flawed logic, and it's setting myself up for failure. But at this point, like I just can't justify putting emotional effort into something that hurts me.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's why I love wrestling, because no matter what happens, at the end of the day, I'm going to get what I want. I'm going to get to see what I want one way or another.
Yep. Ultimately. Yep. So do you have an all-time favorite match as a fan? A match that you could have watched it a million times and it never gets old, and there's always some new nugget that you can glean from it.
Kurt Angle, Shawn Michaels, WrestleMania 21.
Good match.
I watch it I watch it probably once a week. I'm trying to think of other things that I like. A lot of them, the Royal Rumble is my favorite wrestling gimmick match of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Like before I hopped on this call, I was actually watching the 2004 Royal Rumble.
Oh, cool.
Because I was watching the 2003 one the other night, because Kurt Angle and Chris Benoit had a match on that one. It was fantastic. But Kurt Angle, Chris Benoit, those are probably, if I had to choose two of them, like top two favorites, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
Especially from that era. I mean, obviously now we have so many guys that are just so good. Even on the independent scene, just seeing the level of talent, like it's pretty crazy. I try and keep up with almost everything. Like I probably name the world champs in almost every promotion, but just because I keep up with it, because there's so many people, I'm like, oh, I've seen him at a show before, or I've seen this person here. It's cool to keep up with it that way.
Oh, it is. It is. And like you, I'm also a huge Chris Benoit fan, and I can separate his resume and his body of work with how he ended up. I mean, I can still watch Chris Benoit matches and just love the work that he did. I can separate that from the man and the horrible human being he turned out to be.
Oh yeah, it's hard to separate the art from the artist sometimes, because it's such a glaring thing. And right. I almost don't like talking about it. I almost don't like telling people that I like Chris Benoit like that. But seeing how intense he was in the ring,
Oh yeah.
How he made everything look, the way he sold, the way he did things. It's just like, how can you not appreciate this?
Exactly. And the triple threat that he had at WrestleMania 20 with Hunter and Shawn, man. That's in my top three.
I'd say if I had to pick a favorite, triple threat match, it'd be Edge, Triple H, and Jeff Hardy from Armageddon 2008.
Mm-hmm.
For obvious reasons. I mean, that's when Jeff Hardy won the title.
Right.
But I could watch that final 5 minutes over and over and over, and I would just never get tired of it.
Got you. So, and this can be present day or past, who would be a dream opponent for Jonah Hunt? Who would you absolutely just love to get to work?
Oh man.
It can be more than one. I mean, it doesn't have to be just one, but
I mean, obviously I would love to wrestle, my idols, the Jeff Hardys, a lot of my idols, unfortunately, are getting to the point where they can't really move like that anymore.
Right.
So I tend especially nowadays with me actually working, I tend to try and focus in the moment, who am I wrestling this week type of deal. I know that if I look too far ahead, then I'm going to lose sight of what's right in front of me. And
Right.
the more I stay grounded, the more I think that the better off I think I'll be. Because if I start, looking too far ahead, I'm going to start putting, way too much pressure on myself. One of the best pieces of advice I ever was given was after I had a match that I just did not do well. Like I sucked. And he told me, like, you gotta have perspective and think about who you made these mistakes in front of here. In Athens, Georgia, in front of 150 people. There are people who make mistakes in front of 10,000 people. There are people who make mistakes in front of 75,000 people. It happens. Move on.
Yeah.
You're only going to wrestle that match one time. That was what somebody else told me that the same night, I think. You're only going to wrestle that match one time. And if you think about, if you get to that point and you think about, what you've done wrong in the past, you're probably going to do it again. And that's why one of the most important things I learned in wrestling, and something I have to preach to myself, something I make other people preach to me, slow down. Just slow down.
Yep.
Be in the moment. Be in the moment. Slow down.
Yep. Something somebody else on one of these recently said something similar. And there is a saying in the Navy SEALs: slow is smooth, smooth is fast.
Yep, because if you're smooth, it's going to look like it's going really fast.
Yep.
And that's why I try and pay attention to the veterans that I trust when they're wrestling. That's why every time I come back through the curtain, I find somebody who I trust and go, all right, what needs work? What needs to be improved? What did you see that I may not be seeing?
Gotcha.
And I tell people all the time, don't sugarcoat me. Like, I even tell my mom, like, if you come watch and it wasn't good, tell me it wasn't good.
Yeah. And and having those people that will be honest with you is that's invaluable.
Can't beat it.
Nope. So you're still a very young guy, so I'm not sure how much this applies, but what hurts right now, if anything?
So my knee hasn't been feeling right for a while, but it's nothing serious. I mean, it's just takes some Advil, rubs some icy hot on it, I'm fine. My shoulders, I've had issues with them for years. They've sometimes kind of on and off. They pop, they snap, crackle, pop. I don't really have it. I mean, I'm bruised up. Like I have bruises from this very physical thing that we do. So
Right.
But as a whole, I feel pretty good right now. I mean, I haven't wrestled since Saturday, and I don't know if I'm gonna get to wrestle this Saturday or not, but I'm definitely gonna get to wrestle tomorrow. So we'll see. I'm thinking I'm gonna get to wrestle somebody I know tomorrow, so I'm hopefully excited about that.
That's cool.
I'll update you on how I actually feel on Sunday afternoon. Let's put it that way.
Okay. I'll look forward to hearing from you.
Yeah, I a couple weekends ago, I took a bunch of chops, so I came home every day with bruises on my chest, and my mom was already kind of like, "You better be careful." And then I come home with bruises, and she's like, "What are you doing?"
Well, those chops can be brutal. I mean,
yeah, Techi exposed me to that very early on. He probably a month or so into training, he first introduced me to a chop. He showed me the proper way to do it, and then he did it to me, and it hurt.
I couldn't imagine, because I mean, I see so many of these guys, by the end of a match, their chest looks like raw hamburger.
Seeing Gunther before Gunther became what he is now, when he was Walter,
when he was Walter,
when he was Walter, and just seeing him. Have you ever seen the video from? I think it was from Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, where Sammy Guevara walks up to him and starts talking smack to him, and Gunther just smacks him like a fly.
No, I haven't seen that. I'll have to look for it.
It's so funny. So, like, Gunther's a big dude. Like, this is before he got real lean. So he was hefty.
Yeah.
And Sammy Guevara is not a big guy. Let me go on record and say I like Sammy Guevara. I think he's awesome. But Sammy Guevara is not that big of a guy.
No.
So Sammy Guevara walks up to him, pushes him, starts talking. He's got like a backwards baseball cap. And and then he chops Gunther. And the crowd starts chanting, "You effed up. You effed up." And Gunther just rears back, and the sound it makes is just magnificent. Oh, it makes me laugh just thinking about it, because it looks like it just hurts so bad.
I will definitely have to look for that. That sounds like a treat.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's like Pro Wrestling Guerrilla has so many fantastic moments from like 2013, like 2013 to I think like 2016. They just have a gold mine of just magically hilarious moments.
Oh yeah.
And if you look at the roster they had out there at the time, it's just insane. Like they had like Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, they had the Bucks, they had Chris Hero, they had they had so many people out there. Ricochet was getting started out there, Keith Lee. If you look at they run a tournament called the Battle of Los Angeles, and if you look at that tournament from that like 4-year stretch, it's just like a lot of the top names in AEW and WWE now. Like Tommaso Ciampa was out there for a while. Cedric Alexander was there. Matt Riddle was there. Jeff Cobb from New Japan. It's crazy to think that all of that was happening in a warehouse.
Yep.
That's pretty wild. It
is, but magic happens in unexpected places.
Oh yeah, no, the older I've gotten, the more I've seen of wrestling, and just how much can be done with so little. Like, you got to think about guys who were given nothing gimmicks and turned it into something.
Yep.
It's really something to think about how Damian Sandow turned Damian Mizdow into the most overact on the show.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like, it blows your mind. Once you get that perspective, it blows your mind.
I mean, there are people that can literally take any gimmick and get over with it. That they call it, turning chicken shit into chicken salad. And I mean, there are people that you can saddle them with any gimmick and they will come out smelling like a rose.
I saw Will Sasso, who's a comedian. He's a comedian, talking about a match he did when Bret Hart was in WCW. So he had a match with Bret Hart, and he was talking about it. He was like, if I respect this, I know that Bret Hart would kick my ass. In any given situation, Bret Hart would kick his ass. Will Sasso's fat, out of shape. And he was like, but Bret Hart is the excellence of execution, and he can go out there and have a match with a sack of potatoes.
Yeah.
So hearing that made me think, like, yeah, no, in all honesty, like, you can do almost anything. I've even seen from Game Changer Wrestling, like Invisible Man versus Invisible Stan. Like, that's awesome. Are you kidding me? That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Like, having like just the ref and getting the crowd super involved. Like that's amazing. I love that.
Yep.
And as much like I take it very seriously. Don't get me wrong. I take this very seriously. I want this to be my livelihood. I want to do this for the rest of my life. But there's some really funny stuff that you can do in professional wrestling.
Oh, absolutely. And
there's so much funny stuff.
And the comedy side of it is important, because if it's all serious and all drama, it'll wear you out. I mean,
yeah, no, and even with being a serious heel, like I know ways that I can make people laugh.
Yeah.
I know little things I can do that somebody might even get a chuckle out of. But I also love when somebody yells something at me. I'm like, damn, I don't have a comeback for that. I love that. Like, if I can give you that, and you can go home thinking like, yeah, I don't remember a whole lot about the show, but I yelled at that one guy, and he was just like, shoot, you got me, man.
Yeah.
And one thing I learned is like trying to interact with the crowd. I try and give as much interaction with the crowd as I can. And obviously, when I'm in the ring, I'm trying, I'm focused, trying to do that. I'm in character, but I still try, especially when I was when I had the character before. I did that a lot of that. I did a lot of shit talking in the ring, especially. Now, especially in tag matches, I try and do it when I'm on the apron. But it's a lot of fun getting to be the bad guy. It really is.
No doubt. No doubt. So, in general, Jonah, what are your thoughts on the current state of the industry?
I mean, wrestling's as hot as it's been since the Attitude Era right now. Almost every major promotion that I see looks pretty healthy. I mean, despite what people will say, I'm not a tribalist about WWE or AEW. I watch everything.
Same here.
I'm just grateful to see that wrestling is getting positive attention, because this is something that I've loved for my entire life. And especially when I was in middle school and such, it seemed like a lot of people just didn't think it was cool. And during that time period, to be honest, it wasn't.
No.
It was almost unwatchable looking back. I don't know how we got through it. But seeing what it is now and seeing how diverse it is, how talented everyone is, I want to be a part of that. Like I'm not saying I'm not in this for the money. Like don't get me wrong. I need to make money. I like making money.
Right.
I want to have this pay my bills, but at the same time, if you're in this for wins and losses, and if you're in this for just money, you're in it for the wrong reason, in my mind.
Absolutely. Well, I've told this on virtually all of these, but I got started watching wrestling when I was around 11 as a kid in Florida, and a couple of weeks ago I turned 55. So I've been watching wrestling for over 40 years. So I kind of grew up in the territory days, saw the Monday Night Wars start to finish, saw the rise and fall of ECW. And, right now, like you said, is really one of the most exciting times to be a fan, because with the new regime in WWE and their willingness to collaborate, it really makes you feel like just about anything is possible.
Oh, yeah. When the collaboration was announced, my friend that I was telling you about earlier texted me and was like, "This is the real Forbidden Door." And I was like, yeah, I mean, kind of. If you think about like 2011 to 2013 TNA versus WWE, this is a Forbidden Door.
Yeah.
And it's wild that I got to see Frankie Kazarian on WWE TV.
Yeah.
Joe Hendry, I knew it was inevitable, but
I mean,
seeing Frankie Kazarian was cool. Seeing Alexander Hammerstone a few weeks ago on NXT, that's a guy I've known about for a few years. I remember him when he was in MLW and running shop over there.
Yeah.
But I think especially on the indie scene, with a lot of guys from AEW branching out, working more indie shows. Like, that's pretty cool to think about. Like, seeing somebody, if you really think about it, seeing somebody who is on TV at your local wrestling show, that's pretty cool. That's worth the price of admission.
Mm-hmm.
Like a couple of weeks ago at one of the Monday Nightmare shows, Carly Bravo was there, and the infantry was there. Captain Sean Dean was there. Like,
Oh, that's cool.
that was awesome. Are you kidding me? Like, getting to see people like that on a regular basis, that's really cool.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
And they train with Nightmare, and a lot of the Nightmare guys get to see them fairly often. But like, I don't get to see them very often. That's pretty cool to me. I'm not.
Oh, no doubt.
Even being trained by people like QT Marshall, and when Billy Gunn was there, and when Cody was there, it was awesome. It's a dream come true in every possible reality for me.
That's awesome. As far as the collaboration going on with TNA and WWE, I keep hoping we'll see Josh Alexander show up and do a reunion of the North with Ethan Page.
I actually thought about that because last night, since Ethan Page lost the title, I thought about that. But the way it ended, something tells me that Page is something else in store.
Yeah, I think so too. Ethan Page was one of those people that he was kind of spinning his wheels in AEW, and man, he is just on fire in NXT now, and I am so happy for that guy because I think he is incredibly talented.
Oh no, I remember when he first showed up there, like his second or third week there, he cut a promo, and I texted my friend, and I was like, I just watched a star get made. Like, he made himself a star with that one promo. And I don't remember everything he said, but like he said he mentioned the fact that AEW had just had him kind of sitting at home for like 2 years. He didn't say it directly like that, but I was like, there's no way he's just said that on TV.
Yeah.
And that was the moment I knew he's going to do something here.
Yep, absolutely. So, what is your take on the role that social media is playing as a promotional tool in wrestling?
So, social media is big because almost every booking I get, or when I first started especially, I had to get through Facebook. I didn't have a Facebook account before I started wrestling, so I had to make one. But trying to promote shows, trying to, sell a brand, posting pictures from the show, interacting with fans, telling them to follow you, stuff like that. It's work. I mean, it's a job unto itself, because that's where you're going to get more marketing than anything else. I mean, you can go to the shows all you want, but if you're not advertising yourself, then who cares? Who are you? I've never seen you before, and then you keep showing up.
Yep.
And once you keep showing up, people start remembering you and recognizing you, and that's what it was, especially out in Royston, because the show I work out there every Friday, it runs every Friday. So I had a chance to really fairly quickly establish a presence at least one show, and I've been lucky enough to be surrounded by people who take care of me and help me get on shows consistently, like the Monday Nightmare shows, and wrestling at Southern, Georgia Premier Wrestling up in Jasper, SCA out in Royston, all these different places.
Got you. So, and like I said earlier, you're still a pretty young guy, but if you could give any advice to your younger self, what would it be?
Start lifting weights earlier. Just do it. Just start lifting earlier and start amateur wrestling earlier.
Got you.
Those quite literally, if I could say 2 things, just do that. Don't worry about nothing else. Just do it.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah, we were talking before we went live, and my son, who's a lacrosse player, the last year or so, he's gotten heavily into working out and lifting weights and that kind of thing, and that has really helped his confidence on the lacrosse field. Knowing that he's got enough muscle mass now to where he can take a hit and be okay, it has really done wonders for his confidence.
Oh yeah, no, I try and preach the same thing to my younger brother.
So, do you have a favorite move, something you just really enjoy doing? And on the flip side, is there a move that you won't do or you'd rather not do?
So my favorite thing that I get to do on a consistent basis is there's something I'll do if somebody's up on the second rope or something, or somebody does a springboard. I'll catch them out of midair. I'll walk around with them and do a follow-away slam. I like that. I like doing that a lot. But the one thing that I want to do that I will more than likely never do is a swanton bomb.
Mm-hmm.
Let me add to this. So I can do a flip bump. In theory, me having the ability to do a flip bump means that I could probably learn how to do a swanton. But I watched Jeff Hardy do swantons off of ladders.
Yeah.
So there's that part of me that knows no matter how dumb it is, no matter how bad of an idea it is, I want to do a swanton off a ladder. But I know I'm more than likely never going to do that because, one, I don't know how to do a swanton. Two, in the moment, I would probably shit a brick because I was so scared. So I'd probably just Shawn Michaels WrestleMania elbow drop off the ladder. If I was really ever going to do something like that, that's what I would do. If I was on a ladder, I haven't been in a match that involved any kind of, weaponry yet. So I haven't had that opportunity. But if the time ever comes, if I had the ability to, I would do a swanton, but I'm not going to do that.
Gotcha. So, do you have any pre-match traditions? Any things that you try to do consistently before you walk through the curtain?
I read Psalm 144. I haven't done it recently because I've been forgetting to grab my Bible before I go to shows, but Psalm 144, I read that. I don't listen to any music or anything typically unless I'm really trying to get into a certain type of, mood for the character.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a metalhead through and through, so almost everything I listen to is pretty aggressive. So even if I'm just relaxing, I'm still listening to metal. But I don't have anything I'm not superstitious about anything that I have to do.
Gotcha. So something that I've done on all of these, and it's just been kind of fun, is I've let the current guest pose a question for the next guest. So my previous guest from just a couple of nights ago now was a guy named Brick Alexander Jr. And Brick is actually he is a third generation wrestler in training, and he is the youngest referee in the state of Utah. He's 14 years old.
Oh wow!
And so we had a really good conversation, and the question that he posed is, if you could only work for one major company, which one would it be and why?
WWE. I mean, when you're a little kid, obviously that's, for the most part, that's the first real exposure you get to professional wrestling because that's the most popular, it's the most easily available. But that lifelong dream of being able to hold a WWE title above my head, that is so motivating for me personally that I'd have to say that's what I have to say WWE.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And since this is part of a series, do you have a question to pose for the next guest? And I can go ahead and tell you my next guest is going to be this coming Monday night at 7 p.m. I've got Ashton Adonis, um, who is going to be my guest. It doesn't have to be a question particular to him, but do you just have a question you'd like to pose?
What's your favorite design for the WWE Championship belt? I'm not talking about the World Heavyweight title. I'm talking about like straight WWE lineage. What's
Gotcha.
your favorite design for the championship, and why?
And what would your answer be?
Winged Eagle.
Yep. I think everybody loves the Winged Eagle.
If I ever won that Winged Eagle title, I would probably never take it off. And I'd walk around in a leather vest everywhere thinking I was Stone Cold.
Yeah.
Just being honest.
You might as well, man.
I'd shave my head bald and everything. I would commit to the bit.
So we're getting toward the end of things. Do you have any upcoming shows or anything at all that you would like to give some hype to?
Yeah, so tomorrow I'm going to be wrestling for GCW in Milledgeville. It's going to be a free show. My Instagram is the Jonah Hunt. I keep it under my real name. So go follow that. I post updates about it. I put something up today. I'll probably put something up tomorrow and something up while I'm there. It's a free show. Again, should be a lot of fun. Next Friday, I'm going to be out in Royston at STA. It's $10 tickets. They run every Friday. It's going to be a good show. TCW is running a bunch of shows over the next few weekends. Check their Instagram out. They always put on a great show. They're all over the place right now. Trying to think. Wrestling at Georgia Premier Wrestling on the 19th up in Jasper. That's a fantastic show. I love being there. I love the crowd there. October's pretty packed up. November and December, I'm looking to fill up. I think I'm wrestling every weekend in October, or every weekend day in October. Let's see what. Not this weekend, but next weekend I'm actually working Friday. I'm going to be working Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Wow. You like you said, you like to stay busy.
I mean, I like to stay busy, and even if I don't get a chance to wrestle at every one of those shows, that's fine. I mean, I've gotten to the point where I almost enjoy taking rings down because it's kind of just like a big puzzle. And I mean, especially I've been a part of, a 3-man crew who were the only ones who stayed to help after the show was done take the ring down. So I know how much of a pain it can be when nobody stays. So I try my best to stay and help tear down the ring.
Right. They say the really great ones are the first to arrive and the last to leave. And
well, if I get the ring set up, if I'm the first one there, if I can get the ring set up, that means I can be the first one in the ring. That means I can be the first one getting looser. If some of my opponents there, we can get in there, we can talk. Just getting a chance to learn. Like I've had shows where I showed up early, got in the ring, and I got a lesson from somebody. I got teaching moments. Like at a show I was at a while back, Chick Donovan was there, and I was in the ring, and he got in there and started showing us some stuff. I mean, it's simple respect. There's a part of it because I was raised like you always help. Like,
yep.
You always leave the place better than you found it. You always stay and help clean. And that got drilled into my head when I was training. Like I don't truly think there's a point where you stop paying. Like for me personally, I'm not sure there's a point where I'm going to stop paying dues because I owe wrestling everything. It owes me nothing. So if I can add something to someone's life through wrestling, then I think that's a pretty solid fulfillment of purpose.
Awesome. Well, before we wrap this up, Saturday night at a special early start time of 6 p.m., we've got WWE Bad Blood. I want to go through the card real quick and get your predictions on the matches. So, and these are in no particular order.
Right.
The women's world championship, Rhea Ripley versus Liv Morgan. Who you got?
It's hard to bet against Mommy, honestly.
Yeah.
Is this one Hell in a Cell?
No, the only Hell in a Cell match is McIntyre and Punk.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, see, the thing with any Judgment Day match is you always gotta. I don't always know how they're gonna do things because sometimes they make the Judgment Day look really weak, and sometimes they make them look like they're the strongest faction they've ever seen.
Right.
So I'm gonna say Rhea Ripley. For this one, I'm gonna say she gets it back here.
Yeah, they've the wild card is they're going to have Dominic Mysterio in a shark's cage suspended above the ring.
I forgot about that, actually.
And apparently he is real life terrified of heights. So I actually feel for the guy, you know.
And in his defense, me too.
I don't like heights either.
I would not be happy about that.
So, but yeah, I agree with you. I mean, the only thing that makes me think they may have Liv hang on to the belt is I could see them wanting to stretch the storyline out and having it finally blown off at Mania and have Rhea get the belt back then. So I don't know.
That's fair, but the thing is, and I'll add another point is, if they put the belt back on Rhea, who's going to challenge her? Like she's beaten everybody else.
Right.
And nobody else is on her level. Now, she'd be a very popular champion. I mean, she's obviously very over right now. She'd be an incredibly popular champion. But I just don't know what they would do. Like, right. I'm sure they could. I'm sure there's something they've got planned. I'm trying to think if there's any like big returns that can happen or something, regardless of the outcome. Like the only person I can think of is Becky Lynch, but
you know, I would actually like to see Rhea Ripley work a program with what is I'm drawing a blank. Shayna Baszler. Rhea Ripley and Shayna Baszler, I think, could actually have an interesting program.
There's history there, so yes.
Yeah. Okay, next match. Damian Priest versus Finn Balor. Who you got?
Priest.
Yeah.
The problem is if Balor loses, he looks really weak.
Yeah.
If he wins, even if he wins dirty, that's fine. I just don't know how they make Priest not look weak if he loses, because this has been a nag. Finn hasn't. They've made little contact. Like Finn's jumped him a few times. I don't think Damian's actually got his hands on him though.
Right.
So I don't know exactly what they're going to do. I'm actually very interested to see how they do a lot of things on Saturday.
Yeah. Yeah. Hell in a Cell. Drew McIntyre versus CM Punk.
I think that CM Punk's going to lock the Anaconda Vice in. I think Drew McIntyre is going to say F you and flip him off and pass out.
Yeah.
I think Punk is going to win because I think the next thing they're going to work into with Survivor Series is Gunther and Punk. And after that, I don't really know. But what I do know is that they are somehow going to build to CM Punk and Seth Rollins in Mania. Because that was what was supposed to happen this year.
Yeah.
So
I could see that. I could see Punk getting the belt off of Gunther and then working a program with Rollins going into Mania.
No, I think they're going to give that feud time. I don't want that to just be, a Royal Rumble to WrestleMania feud. I want that to be a slow burn, and I want them to cook with it. Because think about it, there's real beef there.
Oh yeah.
They'll put that aside, obviously, and be professionals. Like, I think CM Punk has, gotten to that level. I think Seth Rollins is at that level where he can do that. I don't know if there's still real beef there. But I think that Seth and Punk is going to be the feud of 2025, kind of how Drew and Punk has been this year.
Yeah.
I honestly think Seth and Punk is going to be Drew turned up to 10. I think Seth breaking into his house. Like, I need Punk sitting down in the middle of the ring. Like, I need it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think those two guys, going at each other on the mic and in the ring is just going to be unreal.
Because I personally think that this program with Drew has proved that CM Punk can still go in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
I know he got hurt at the Royal Rumble. That was a freak accident.
Yeah.
But he's proved he can still go. Like, that match he had at SummerSlam with Drew blew me away. I thought it was great.
Oh yeah.
It was a lot better than I was expecting it to be. Let's put it that way. Considering who was in it, relatively low expectations, and they blew me out of the water.
I agree. WWE Women's Championship: Nia Jax and Bayley.
Nia Jax. They're not going to put the belt back on Bayley so soon.
No.
Plus, we might see a Tiffy cash in.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like it's still a little too early for that.
Yeah.
But I just don't know. I feel like unless they break up Bianca and Jade, there's no legitimate challenger to Nia other than Tiffany Stratton with the briefcase.
Yeah.
So I think it's. I don't really know. That's a weird one, actually. That's one I haven't given a whole lot of thought to.
Yeah. And then finally, in what in my mind is the most predictable match of the evening, Cody and Roman versus Solo and Jacob Fatu.
Everything says Cody and Roman.
Yeah.
But I really want to get hit with a curveball.
Yeah.
I really want either like Zilla Fatu or Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa's other brother.
Oh yeah, Hikuleo.
Yeah, I really want one of those two to show up. But other than that, it's probably going to be really predictable.
Yeah. Now there is a lot of rumor going around that The Rock is going to show up.
Too early.
Yeah, I think so too. But there does seem to be a lot of buzz about that possibility. But I agree with you. I think the earliest he needs to make another appearance would be Survivor Series. Yeah.
No, so if all pointers are correct, it's going to be Bloodline, original Bloodline with help versus the new Bloodline in a War Games match, right? Like if we had to place bets, that's probably what it's going to be, right?
Right.
So we have Solo, we have Tama Tonga, Tonga Loa, Jacob Fatu.
Right.
Now, if Zilla Fatu or Hikuleo or whatever his name is doesn't show up at Bad Blood, then 5 has to be The Rock. Like, it would, or they just do 4-on-4. Oh goodness.
Yeah.
Or they just do 4-on-4, which is fine.
Yeah.
But if they're gonna do this story the way we all think they're gonna do this story, then I don't think it makes sense for The Rock to show up just yet.
Right. I agree. I mean, I think they would be better served to wait until Survivor Series.
I mean,
But
they can even tease us. They can even pull some stuff out that nobody's expecting, and I think that people will be happy with it. Shoot, you don't even have. I don't even think in some. I mean, this is an idea. You don't even technically have to introduce The Rock until the Royal Rumble.
true.
Like I don't think The Rock really has to come into play until the Royal Rumble because what's he gonna do in that month or so stretch between what's he gonna do in December or the Royal Rumble's in February next year, so what's he gonna do for 2 months between Survivor Series and the Royal Rumble? You
True.
know, he's not gonna be wrestling. We know that
Yeah.
he's probably not gonna be on TV every week.
Yeah.
So you know obviously I'm not booking it, and there's a reason for that because if I was booking it, it probably wouldn't be very good. But I'm very interested to see. Like Paul Heyman said it best. Like this story is so far from over that it's kind of crazy to think about. Like from where it started to where it is now, and how much more there still is. That's
Oh
crazy.
yeah.
That's
Yep.
crazy stuff.
It really is. It really is. And man, creatively and storytelling wise, man, WWE is clicking on all cylinders right now.
Oh, even the little program they're doing with Braun Strowman and Bronson Reed on Raw right now.
Oh
It's
yeah.
entertaining. It's just seriously, just let them go out there and beat the crap out of each other every week. I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Jonah, I want to thank you so much for your time. Has been a complete blast, and consider yourself as having a standing invitation to come back anytime. You're part of the Throwdown family now, and like I said, I just really appreciate it, man. I love this stuff, and I love nerding out about it with like-minded people, and. For those of you that have been watching this live, thank you. I'm sorry there were problems with the Instagram feed, but hopefully y'all made it on to one of the other feeds. If you like what we've got going here, please spread the word. This thing is really taking on a life of its own. I've got bookings for the next 3 weeks and more still in the works. As far as what's coming up immediately, this coming Monday, October the 7th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, I've got Ashton Adonis. And then next Thursday, October the 10th at 7:30 p.m., I've got Marty the Moth Casillas. And then I've got some more coming the week after that. So be keeping an eye on my socials. I'll be making further announcements in the coming days. But there's some really cool stuff coming. And everybody have a wonderful night. Have a safe weekend. Enjoy Bad Blood. And we will see you on Monday at 7.